If you change your perception, you change your reality. The truth of the matter is that yes, your mind does create reality, but it does so through your perception. And today I want to start with the quote, "If the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is infinite," by William Blucke. Your perception is what makes reality appear as finite, solid. We have discussed in my previous videos how the particles that make up matter, right? Like the atoms, electrons, etc., they behave differently depending on who is observing it. Until then, we are in this infinite field of possibilities. All of your dreams and all these possible realities, even the craziest realities you can think of, are all happening in this moment right now. And to make this infinity finite, solidify it into one reality, which I'm sure you want it to be your dream one, you use your perception, which is exactly what I'm going to teach you today. So grab your notebook and pen, because I will cover right now the 3 whys to changing your perception and mastering your reality. The first why is you are nothing until you give yourself a perception. Has it ever happened to you where you wake up and you literally don't even know who you are? You don't know where you are, you don't know what house you're in, what city you're in, you don't know anything. And there's this tiny moment where you literally have no identity, okay? That moment shows to you that everything, all these beliefs, all these things that make up who you are illusions, are complete illusions, right? Because in that moment, you are none of those things. And it is exactly in a state of a state of nothingness, being no thing, where you can actually tap into your quantum self. That is actually your quantum self, that state of being no thing. So all these perceptions that you have about yourself, oh, you're skilled at this thing, your name is this, you live in this country, etc., all of those are really just illusions, are just labels that you put yourself through. There's stories you have been told, telling yourself about who you are, right? All of these beliefs that make up who you are, it's really just an illusion. At the end of the day, when you really dive back to your quantum self, that state of no thingness, nothingness, right? That is where you can create the most. Otherwise, you have all these perceptions creating your reality for you. So it is from that state of being no thing where you can create the most. What actually makes up your perception are beliefs. And if you break it down even further, your beliefs are what makes up your identity, okay? And that don't just mean some type of belief like, oh, I believe I am pretty, I believe I am this, I am that. Yes, those are beliefs as well. But there are deep-rooted beliefs that are in your subconscious mind about who you think you are. So for example, you can have beliefs that shape your external identity, like I was born in a certain country, I am, this is what I do for my job, my name is X, Y, and Z. But there are more deeply rooted beliefs, which is what I'm talking about, that are all rooted in childhood trauma and the way that you were raised, which is something that we will talk about later in this video. But those are also deeply rooted beliefs that could be, oh, I'm unworthy, I will get rejected, I am X, Y, and Z. Or it could also be, I am better than this other person, I am. And the list could go on, okay? The list could go on. What I'm saying is that it is your subconscious beliefs that actually shape your perception, not the beliefs that are in the conscious mind. Okay, what you think is making up your identity is not actually what makes up your identity. It is more traits of your personality that are internal than external things like where you live, which is what actually makes up your identity. Now, the question is, in this why that I'm talking about, right? You're nothing until you give yourself a perception, is, are you living up to the identity of the person you want to be, or the person that you no longer want to be? I'm sure you have some sort of idea of the person that you want to become. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here, right? Because I know you want to create your reality, so you definitely have like a set idea of who you want to become, or at least the things that you want to embody. But are you embodying those things now? And if not, why are you not embodying them right now? What is keeping you from embodying that identity right now in this present moment? Because at the end of the day, like I told you, your identity doesn't depend on your external factors in order to be a thing. Your identity has everything to do with your qualities in your internal world. So you can perfectly fine embody that identity you want to be right now. So this is what I want you to do. Make a list of all the beliefs that make up the identity of the person that you want to become. And I want you to compare this list to the person that you are currently being and see where you can change your perspective. If you're gonna take anything from this video, remember this: nothing means anything until you give it a perception. If your dream self, for example, is somebody who trusts the universe, who embodies patience, who is abundant, then let's say you get stuck in traffic, and instead of giving the perception of, oh my God, this is so bad, I'm gonna be late to work, blah, 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 and getting all moody, right, and putting yourself in a low vibration, what would your dream self do? What perception would your dream self give that specific situation? Since they trust the universe, obviously they know everything happens for a reason. So in that moment, they will not feel like the traffic is a bad thing. They are probably like, hey, you know what? There could have been a car crash if I would have went any further, or, you know, something may have happened, but whatever it is, everything's fine because everything is meant to be where it is, right? Because they trust the universe. That's one of the qualities they have. So ask yourself, what perception would my dream self, this dream identity, give to certain situations, and actually start showing up as that. All right, so the second why is you don't understand anything you see. This one is one that the ego tends to absolutely hate, okay? There's this one meme of the universe tapping the ego's back and telling the ego, you need to be okay with not understanding absolutely anything that is actually happening, and the ego being like, not liking it at all. This is exactly what I'm trying to get you to embody today, okay? Reality goes way beyond the perception of your senses. Your human body can literally only perceive 0.00035% of what's actually going on. And I actually could beg to differ that that percentage is probably way lower, way lower. But do you really think you understand everything that is actually happening around you? Absolutely not. Okay, absolutely not. When I see this lamp right here, this light, I don't actually understand what I'm seeing. It's just this name that I have given this light, right? This symbol that humans have given to light, that's the symbol. But do I really understand what I'm seeing? What makes this whole lamp come together so I can see it? Or what makes this entire reality? I don't understand anything, and it's okay. And I think that understanding, that overall, like, accepting that you don't understand anything is where a lot of being humble and just laying back and letting the universe or God or whatever you call it, letting God just take care of things for you because you actually don't understand anything. There's this one story I want to tell you real quick that is really, really, really important. And it's something that my teacher once told me, which changed my perspective completely on this. So the story goes, this man has a horse, and this horse ends up running away. And his neighbors are like, oh my God, that's so bad that you lost your horse, blah, blah, blah. And the man is like, is it bad? I don't know. And so the horse ends up coming back, but it comes up with another horse. It comes back with another horse. And the neighbors are like, oh my God, that's awesome. Yes, like, you know, you got this horse back, everything's well. And the man is like, is it? I don't know. And so then the son of the man ends up riding this new horse, and the horse ends up going crazy, and the son ends up breaking his leg. And the neighbors again go, oh, that's so bad, blah, blah, blah. And the man is like, is it bad? I don't know. And so the next morning, the military comes wanting to draft all young men, but his son with a broken leg wouldn't go because he couldn't. And that saved his literal life. That's a story that just changes, and obviously it can go on forever, but you don't really know what is gonna happen. I bet if you look back a couple years ago when maybe you had that heartbreak that you were like, oh my God, what am I gonna do with myself? And you thought the world was over. Well, the world is not over. You're watching this video. How's your life now, right? So if you can look back on the times where you thought your world was over, where you thought life was so terrible, was that moment not necessary for where you are today? And I promise you, when you go through moments that you're gonna eventually, everybody goes through bad moments again, even when you reach alignment, those moments are also part of a story that is going to end up coming together at some point. So you really don't know anything. And at the end of the day, why should you even stress about things that you can't control? Okay, if something happens in your life, it's important to have this mindset, this perception of, I don't understand absolutely anything I am seeing. I don't understand what's going on, and I never will understand what's actually going on. Even when everything comes together, you could be like, oh my God, yeah, that makes sense. But do you really actually perceive that? Or is that the truth you think you are perceiving with your human mind? Even then, you don't understand anything because you're inside a human body. And my friend, if you were able to see God, then that wouldn't be God. But this is especially important because when you don't fall into giving reality a negative perception, what you're actually doing is opening up all these positive doors that could lead you to better opportunities, higher frequency opportunities, since that's what you're giving the perception of. You're stuck in traffic, cool, that's what's meant to be. It's okay, everything's fine. The main reason why this is really important is because when you don't fall into the trap of giving the reality that you're seeing a negative perception, you're opening up the doors to these positive opportunities. You're no longer creating reality from the lenses of fear and contraction, but you're now creating from a point of expansion and love. So humble yourself enough to understand that you don't understand anything. The third why is your perception is an echo of the past. You are never upset because of what you think you're actually upset about, and you see nothing as it actually is right now. All perceptions that you hold are actually reflections of past perceptions until you decide to change that. So your mind, the conscious one, right, the one that thinks all the time, the one that tells you things, etc., that mind doesn't exist outside of time, okay? So it preoccupies itself with the past and the future, but never the present moment, because your mind cannot exist in the present moment, because in the present moment, time doesn't exist. Even when you imagine things right now, those are also reflections of past perceptions on things. For example, if you try to imagine a witch in the forest, right, you are going to imagine that witch in the forest, even if it has like these new features, things you've never seen, right, before in one place. It is all going to be different reflections of things you have seen in the past that make up this image of this witch, okay? If you didn't know what a witch was and you had never seen one, you could never imagine a witch, okay? I believe there's this one story when the colonizers came to the islands of Florida, I believe, where obviously the indigenous people had never seen a ship in their entire life. So when the reason why they were not able to detect the colonizers coming was because when they saw out on the horizon, they couldn't see the ships because they had never seen a ship in their entire life. And so they dismissed that. They never saw it as a threat. And so eventually, when there was these weird things in the horizon, the shaman of the village came and he actually saw that, and through his intuition he was able to sense that there was something wrong. And that's when he started alerting the indigenous community that there was something wrong and that they should start, stand guard. But it wasn't because he was like, oh, ships. He had never seen a ship. It was really purely off of intuition. But if you try to, the point is that if you try to imagine something, you literally won't be able to imagine it unless you have seen it before. Therefore, even when you're imagining things, that is in the past. This is why a big part of changing your perception is also working on healing your emotional body, right? Working with your inner child, working with your shadow self, all of those things, which actually reprogram the belief system from the root. And when I say change your perception, I never ever mean suppress your emotions. Emotions are super vital to actually doing emotional healing. And if you keep suppressing them and you need to release them some way, somehow, which you obviously do through emotional healing. By the way, check out this video on shadow work to learn how to do all of that. But the deeper that you dive into the manifestation journey, you realize that it is truly a dual journey where you work with your dark and with your light side. Remember that this is a journey and it's something that you must stay consistent with. If you really want to change your entire reality, you must first start off with the way that you perceive your reality. Catch yourself, become aware, put yourself in the observer seat where you can see the mental patterns that lead you to create the current reality that you have, and stop them. Okay, stop them. Obviously, don't suppress your emotions. Work with yourself, work on healing as well. Give a time to everything, right? Give a time to everything, and you will see your life completely transform for the better. Like if you found this video helpful and to reach your highest potential through the supernatural power of your mind, make sure to check out my resources below and to subscribe. I'm Ira Morphy, and I'll see you on the next video.